Your microphone, please. Wow, I love your shirt, flashy as always. And look behind me. You remember Sujili? I think 6 years ago. I'm sorry. 6 years ago, both of you were here, Christian. Okay. Christian, could you try the audio, please? Could you say something, please? Guten Morgen. No? Or could you, your microphone is off. One moment, please.
Now, here we are.
Yeah, now I can hear you. All right, all
Perfect.
right.
I was
Perfect.
muted by the system.
Okay. All right. We are not starting yet in 5 minutes, but
Yeah.
would you like to
Perfect.
try sharing your screen, please?
I can do it.
ช่วยเพิ่มให้เขาเป็นโคโฮสได้ไหมครับเขาจะได้แชร์หน้าจอได้ให้เขาเป็นโคโฮส Okay, now we have made you a co-host, so you should be able to share the screen. Excellent.
I think you should see it now.
Yes, I can see it now. Social changes for the thorough
And
e-learning.
then,
Yes, yes, sir. So before we start, let me ask you, how are you? We miss you here. We want you to be here.
yes, yeah.
Hi, Christian.
Christian, look who is with me. Can you see? Yes.
Christian,
Hello, nice to meet you.
meet you. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you so much for your kind invitation. My great pleasure. How is it going?
Everything fine. We miss you all. Actually, Christian, next year we're gonna set up the IEC 2024 again. You have to book your
Congratulations.
calendar. You have to book your calendar for next year.
Okay. I will mark it.
Please.
Okay, that is a promise. Okay, that is a promise. We take it as a promise. Okay, so see.
Yeah, as I told you, I would love to come, but I have to combine it with other activities. And maybe next year, for example, the Ph.D. project will have more progress. And maybe we can combine it with a meeting with a PhD student and with a committee with your colleagues. And
Sure.
maybe we can even discuss future collaboration.
Sure, Christian. So we're gonna set up that schedule. Actually, maybe the dissertation, Earth dissertation may be final soon. I hope that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That is quick progress.
Because of the co-advisor. Thank you so much.
Oh, you are co-advisor for
Yeah.
us? Why? She used to work with me, so she is a good girl. So
Okay, fantastic. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I don't know if you're aware of my current situation. I don't want to speak about that during the presentation, but maybe just to tell you, I'm currently setting up now a research lab in our university, especially focusing on open education and artificial intelligence. That means if you are interested in open education and artificial intelligence, we can find a lot of opportunities for future collaboration.
I am in.
Wow.
Of course.
Okay.
Fantastic.
to you again with this topic. Okay, thank you so much, Christian.
Okay, it's this
Very
time.
precious.
I see you later.
Okay, yeah.
So please allow me to now take everybody here and online and on Metaverse to a very exciting afternoon session in this main room. Unfortunately, our keynote speaker cannot be with us in person this time, but as you can see his face, he is our regular speaker. We always learn a lot from him. Professor Christian M. Stracke from Germany. Now, please allow me to introduce him for those of you who might not familiar with him yet. Dr. Stracke is an expert in a lot of things. He just mentioned that he is now going to do research on AI and open educational resources. But before that, we first know him for his excellence in quality assurance. Professor Stracke is currently a coordinator for virtual collaboration and cloud strategy at the German University of Excellence in Bonn. Appointed advisory professor at East China Normal University in Shanghai, and adjunct professor at Korea National Open University in Seoul. In addition, he is a founder and director of ELC, the European Institute for Learning, Innovation and Cooperation. Christian works as a consultant for UNESCO, Council of Europe, European Commissions and Parliaments, and many national ministry and educational institutions. He holds a Ph.D. in economics and informatics and Magister Artium or MA in educational science. He shares his thoughts on LinkedIn. You can Google, you can search on LinkedIn, Christian-M-Stracke. On Twitter would be @CHRM Stracke, as well as Mastodon @CHRM Stracke@mastodon.online. His personal email will be given at the end of the presentation. Ladies and gentlemen, to me, Dr. Stracke is someone who always enlightening us. He always has something new to share, and his vision is by far one of the most advanced that I have ever seen. So today, he is going to share his secret with us on AI and education. So for 1 hour from now, without further delay, Christian, the stage is now yours. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Michael, for your very kind introduction. Thank you so much, Tapane, and all organizers from IEC 2023. It's my great pleasure and honor to be here with you. Unfortunately, I cannot be with you in Bangkok, but I love to come at the next opportunity, and I'm very pleased to speak to you now here online through this channel. And my great pleasure is that you are now celebrating the IEC 2023 again in Bangkok for the 14th time. That is fantastic, and it's my great pleasure to see how it will evolve and how it will go on. I was with you 4 years ago. That was 2019, and you can see maybe one flower that is from that occasion. 2019, the conference celebrated the 10th anniversary, and I was very pleased to be invited. And it was also on the occasion of the national holiday. And that was celebrating the whole country in the prestigious color yellow. That's why I'm very happy to wear the flower again 4 years later to remind me on the great opportunity to discuss with all of you in Bangkok at that time. And I'd like to continue with that, and I'm looking forward to our future collaboration. If you don't mind, I will start the presentation right now. And I hope that you can see it now. I cannot see any chat communication. That's
Hello.
why if there is a
Yes.
question.
We can see your screen now. Clear
Okay, perfect.
and good. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And if there is any question, please directly interrupt me and I will be happy to answer it immediately.
Okay, thank you.
I'd like to speak about social exchanges for and through e-learning and artificial intelligence. And that is a hot topic, I believe. And it's not only a hot topic for today, but for the long-term future. And I'd like to explain you why. And I also like to explain how we can handle it and what should we address and focus. You will get the slides as always with such a Creative Commons license, and please also use such a Creative Commons license for your own work, for your own publications, that everybody can always be sure how to use it, share it, adapt it, and reuse it. And just a short background on my own person. Since more than 20 years now, I'm doing online learning and online education as my main focus. I started with quality as the important topic to be addressed, established conferences as well as MOOCs, and you have spoken a lot about MOOCs during this conference, as I know from my colleague Daniel, Ahmed, and Carlos, who gave already presentations. And I'm looking forward how we can also address and establish future collaboration. Just in brief, to my own person, Michael has already kindly introduced myself. I only would like to highlight that at the University of Bonn in Germany, I'm setting now up a research lab focusing on cloud strategies, virtual collaboration, but in particular on open education and artificial intelligence, how we can use and benefit from them. And that's why I'd like also to put both open education and artificial intelligence in the middle of my presentation here. My keynote will start with a short overview of the changes caused by digitalization in our societies. And if we look into different sectors, you can always see pictures from around 100 years ago on the left and current photos, and you will see a lot of differences that took place and that changed sectors dramatically. Here in agriculture, in the logistics, but also in libraries. But what about education? In education, we are still facing more or less a similar situation as before. Many students are sitting in front of a teacher, and digitalization is mainly done by the students themselves. Okay, that is a first introduction. And then please let me have a look what we can see here now in our own history. Who can remember the year 2004? That was the upcoming and arrival of DLAN, the very first non-profit e-learning association in Germany, plus the biggest German e-learning project. I don't expect you to know that, but that is already my starting point in the academic research when I moved from a business and HR consultancies towards the academic teaching and research. But just 1 year later, we had a huge success with the very first e-learning standard, ISO IEC 19796-1. And remember, that is already 18 years ago. And in 2006, I was entering the international conferences with the first conference in Bogota. And I was really surprised because at that time, Latin America was leading e-learning introduction and implementation. It was a huge conference celebrating 5 years of first e-learning implementation and the introduction of a new 5-year plan. And I was speaking in front of 3,000 people, plus 3,000 people in front of the gym, who were highly interested in e-learning and e-learning quality. And then, 2009, can you remember, there was one important date, and that was a lifelong learning conference in Bangkok. And that was the initial moment for establishing IEC conference next year, as well as the TCU, the Thai Cyber University. And I was very pleased to be there and to hear the announcements and also to learn afterwards that they became true. That's why great achievement, great progress that you have done in Thailand. 3 years later, UNESCO celebrated the first Congress in Paris, leading also to the OER recommendation and the OER declaration. And just 4 years ago, already the 10th IEC took place in Bangkok. And I was again very pleased to be invited as a keynote speaker. And yeah, as I said, the flower is from this moment, and I still at my heart, and I really appreciate how much we could already discuss at that time for the future in Thailand as well as worldwide. And finally, I have also to mark the calendar here. It's already 3 years ago that the WHO declared the COVID-19 pandemic. Imagine that. Yeah. That's why let's start with an overview what happened related e-learning and artificial intelligence. And if we go before the year 2000, we had always face-to-face learning, already 100, several hundreds, even several thousands years ago. Then, around 100 years ago, distance learning was established. And that was done in parallel to the ongoing face-to-face, of course. And a combination of face-to-face and distance learning was normally not done. Finally, even before the year 2000, let's say 40 years ago, the first e-learning was introduced. First, computer-based and using a specific disk, but it was already also distributed normally by snail mail. And from the beginning, we had something that was called blended learning, the mixture of face-to-face and e-learning, and even the mixture of e-learning and distance learning. Let's have a look what happened afterwards. After the year 2000, face-to-face has still the same position and the same importance. That has not changed. But distance learning is decreasing while e-learning is heavily increasing. E-learning is now becoming the new standard and the new default worldwide due to the fact that e-learning can also provide education at regions that are lacking formal education. And now we have also to recognize most of the e-learning is done online. That means digital learning is now, first of all, online learning through the internet, through the World Wide Web, like we are doing it here now. My first key message is, therefore, e-learning is already introduced in many countries now, but in many countries only due to the COVID-19 pandemic. I can say that for Germany, but also for many other countries. We did research on that, and I will show it up in a minute. But that is most important to reflect that we have already a long-term history of digital education, but the real implementation and the experiences for the broad audience are not that long. What is the current situation in the relationship between education and society? Let's have a look. We have internationalization, we have globalization, as already mentioned, and we need to address the biggest objective and challenge at the moment, and that is learning to learn. Because we don't know what will happen in 10 years, 5 years, not even in 1 year. That means we have to be able and competent to learn and to adapt and to reflect unknown situations. That is also opening up new opportunities, of course. And we have also to see that we get an equity worldwide, that everybody has got the same chances. We have crisis. I have also to tell you, we have economic crisis, we have an education crisis related innovations. Currently, a lot of digitalization is introduced, but not combined with innovative learning designs, but even worse, with very old-fashioned traditional pathways that we thought that were already gone and replaced by more innovative learning designs. We have a media crisis with fake news and the need for literacy, and we have a societal crisis. And for that, I would like to underline that I strongly believe we need innovative and high quality open education for all. This is my main belief and my core message, because open education for all is a human right. Like the Sustainable Development Goals are highlighting it in Sustainable Development Goal number 4. Current challenges, we have still the results from the COVID-19 pandemic. Luckily, we do not have lockdowns anymore in most countries all over the world. But just during this week in Germany, the pandemic is increasing again. Not a danger, but data are going up again, and that's why it's not over. We have the war in Ukraine, but not only in Ukraine, in many other countries, even though that Ukraine is dominating the press. And we have climate change, poverty, and hunger worldwide. And these are issues that we have also to tackle. And I also believe that open education can play a role here and provide solutions. Let's have a very brief back to the pandemic. Already in 2020, there was a survey by UNICEF, UNESCO, and United Nations and others, and they were counting how many children, how many students were unable to have remote learning opportunities during the lockdowns. and there were more than 400 million children without any learning opportunity. That is 1 out of 3 pupils. Every third pupil could not learn during the COVID-19 lockdowns, and that was dramatic. And we need to keep that in mind because that has changed the situation and conditions for a whole generation. Okay, then what is the future of our education? We can see that there is a democratization, and that is a very good pathway also for our education settings. But on the other hand, we also have to note that there is digital divide, that some pupils, some children, some students cannot afford the means for digital equipment and devices and access, of course. We have social media, but on the other hand, as already mentioned, we have fake news, the new challenge in publications. We have collaboration that is increasing worldwide, also through the new opportunities provided by the World Wide Web. But we have also increasing egoism. Everybody is only looking as on individual personal advantages. We have something that is called Education 5.0 in alignment with the concept Industry 5.0, highlighting that everything will be changing also in the processes and the provision of future education. But on the other hand, we have also commercialization in education that we have to recognize. And finally, we have our strong educational ideal. And as a German, I'm also very proud that we can also say that we have the history of the concept Bildung that is most prominent and most important for us in Germany, but also worldwide now, given the fact that we have also more and more interests to exploit education for own purposes and for the business markets. That's why we have to be aware of misconceptions that are currently promoted, also to underline and support these exploitation purposes. On the one hand, there is the misconception of digital natives. Please do not repeat that. There are no digital natives. Digital natives are not existing. They are not existing because it is digital literacy that decides. And all the young people are now growing up with digital devices, and they know how to do a quick prompt on a digital device, but they do not know how to carefully use and reflect digital devices. The difference within the upcoming generations now between the digital literal children and the digital non-literal children is huge and is bigger than the difference between the children and their parents. Also in the parents' generation, you can find people that are very digital literal, but others that are also digital non-literal. That's why don't believe the myth of digital natives. We have to build up digital literacy for all children from the scratch. And that is most important to address that in our formal education from the beginning in elementary schools and so on. The same for 21st century skills. They are not existing because they were already there last century. What we need is indeed competence development, but all the so-called 21st century skills like creativity, we had creativity also last century. That's nothing to do with the 21st century. Of course, we need creativity, but we should not call it 21st century skills. We need to set up a good curriculum for competence development, and we should discuss what it should contain, but don't label it 21st century skills. And social media. Well, in fact, we have something that is labeled social media, but they are not social services. They are for profit, for commercial profit. That's why the label social media is completely misleading. And finally, flipped classroom. Flipped classroom is also a concept that exists more than 50, 100 years now. But in our days, it is misused, and you can see a lot of use of the term flipped classroom simply for changing the locations where students are learning. But in fact, in the beginning, from the beginning, flipped classroom was always introducing innovative learning designs. And that is most important to remember again when we like to speak about flipped classroom. It is about flipped learning and flipped sequencing. Okay, I'd like to hurry up a little bit because I'd like also to keep the time here. And changes in society is one of my main topics at the moment, but I'd like just to highlight what the main message is. Everything started with the commons. In the beginning, let's say 1,000, several thousand years ago, we had only the commons. Then countries and states came up and were arising. And now, during the last 100, 200 years, private business is more and more dominating our world, our societies in general, but also in education. We have much more private education now, and enterprises are also trying to promote their own products in schools, in universities, by offering them first of all for free and then asking for some license fees. That means we need to come back to a balance in societies between the commons, the countries and states, and the private business. And we have to reflect, what does it mean for education? So my second key message that I'd like to highlight is that education in general, not only digital education or e-learning, education in general has to focus the public commons and the education idea. This is something that I'd like to underline, and that is true also for artificial intelligence, but I will come to artificial intelligence in a minute. First of all, let's have a look which strategies exist for e-learning and artificial intelligence, how we can introduce and implement e-learning and artificial intelligence in a way that is beneficial and helpful for us. Well, as you may know from my former keynotes, I always try to start a simple experiment if I'm with you on the stage. Unfortunately, I cannot do that, but I promise I will do that next time, and I will bring again my gummy bears with me. I always ask the question when I'm distributing the gummy bears, what is your favorite quality of gummy bears. And I can get a lot of different answers here on that. And I have to say, all of them are always right and correct, because quality cannot be defined. And this is something that you need to remember when talking about quality, because quality always needs adaptation to your situation and context. This is that important that I already mentioned it 4 years ago and even 10 years ago. But I'd like to repeat that, because this is something that need to be reflected and distributed all over the world. When we talk about quality in education, we have to reflect also 3 quality dimensions, but I cannot go here into the details. We will always find some references below the features here. Just to highlight, next to the process of any given situation and the results, we have also to keep in mind the potential, the most important dimension. And if you transfer that to learning or e-learning, then the potential is replaced by the objectives. The learning objectives are key for our realizations and the achievements towards high quality education. And for a holistic view, as already introduced before, we need education to facilitate competence development. We have to move from the focus on knowledge towards competence development, that students and pupils are getting aware and build up their own competences by themselves for their own futures. And digital competences are most important. And you could say now, but everybody is using the digital devices. As I already said, there are no digital natives. And here you can also see at least the data from Europe. You can see on the left, Iceland is on the top with 85% of all individuals that are declaring to have at least basic digital skills. But that means 15% have not even basic digital skills, and of course also not advanced digital skills. And if you go to the right, you can see that there are countries with 70% lacking basic digital skills, and that is something that we have to reflect. And also related online courses and learning materials, I was surprised because I was expecting a much higher increase during the COVID-19 pandemic. But as you can see here, that are the only data that are available. Unfortunately, it's not done on a daily, on an annual basis. The survey is done only every 2 years, but in 2020, they made an exception due to the COVID-19 pandemic. But the increase is still very low. In average, just every 4th person in the European Union has done one online course or have used one digital material. That is very low and means 75% have not yet used any online course or any digital learning material. But unfortunately, we have no further data collection. That are the only data that you can get from Europe, and in the other regions of the world, the situation is not better at an international level. We have many data collected in different countries, but international collection and analysis is missing, and in particular, longitudinal studies are missing. We need such data collections and analysis in the future. I said I'd like to highlight strategies to introduce and implement e-learning and artificial intelligence, and I have to start with the very first standard that was developed specifically for that purpose. Because as I tried to convince you during the last minutes, we need more focus on how we can carefully introduce e-learning as well as artificial intelligence, but at that time that was not yet the topic here, how we can carefully introduce and implement e-learning in a way that it will address our demands, our objectives, but also leading to good learning processes and high quality achievements. And for that reason, the international standard ISO IEC 40180 was already developed for the first time in the year 2005, as already mentioned just in the beginning, but with the other title, ISO IEC 9796-1, a number that nobody could remember. That's why we have slightly improved that with 40,180. And this is a standard that is still the only e-learning standard worldwide, but it is not prescriptive. It requires adaptation. You always need to adapt to your given situation, as I already also mentioned in the gummy bear experiment 1 minute ago. And here it is. Select the processes that are relevant for you and then start and do a good preparation. Another strategy that you can use is the quality reference framework. It was developed first of all for massive open online courses, MOOCs, but we have also integrated two guidelines here, one for beginners of online learning and one for experts of online learning. And you can find them in the document, highlighting the key questions that beginners of online learning have to answer and to face, and also introducing the full list of quality criteria for the experts of online learning to improve or to evaluate their own learning designs. And what I'd like also to promote is that we also should take care of the facilitation of virtual collaboration. We made very good experiences at our University of Bonn in introducing different services for virtual collaboration in our study programs, from annotations, from commonly programming, as well as from immersive 3D worlds. If you would like to learn more about that, you're most welcome to contact me, and I will also show you some examples, as well as also share the software with you. We have also developed software that is, of course, published with an open license as open source software, and we'd like also to encourage you, because virtual collaboration can change the education also in universities and study programs. And what is also very important, if you go to implement e-learning and artificial intelligence, you need a good strategy. A good strategy means that you have to do it together with all stakeholders. You should start from a strategic perspective, and of course it should lead to overall success in the end. Like we try now to do it at the University of Bonn. I'm now responsible for the cloud and AI strategy, and I hope that we can show up first successes soon. And here it is how it should be done. First, work on the structure in talks, discussions with all stakeholders, then develop guidelines, and afterwards the long-term phase for the strategy. That's why I'd like to give you as my third key message the need for digitalization for and through e-learning and artificial intelligence based on strategies and innovations. And I have highlighted some of the strategies that are already available for introducing e-learning and artificial intelligence and to facilitate learning innovations in your own organizations and in your own education. A very brief part on open education. I have to do that because this is at my heart, and this is something that I'd like briefly introduce to you, because it is so important that you also be aware of the opportunities that open education can offer. We have the Sustainable Development Goals by the United Nations, and number 4 is on inclusive and equitable quality education for all. And I'm very happy that it is stated clearly for all. That is most important, that we have to address everybody. Nobody should be left behind. And open education is a concept that is offering a huge variety and covering many dimensions. And as you can see here, you can see the 3 core dimensions: the visionary dimension, the legal, as well as the operational dimension. And if you go back to the quality dimensions, then we can also transfer them at the 3 different educational levels. And that is also leading to the application in open education. And for open education, we have the concept also of the open educational resources that were highly promoted by the UNESCO organization. And UNESCO, as a United Nations organization, has also established the 2nd World Congress on OER, leading to some action plans that we could introduce at international conferences together with the colleagues from UNESCO. And finally, there was a draft for the General UNESCO Conference, and I was very pleased to contribute to it and was very happy to see that it was finally adopted, leading to the very first UNESCO recommendation in e-learning, in digital learning, and for the obligation of all countries to report about the progress related open educational resources in the future. Due to the pandemic, it was postponed now, but the first monitoring and the first report will be published at the end of this year. That means keep an eye open, you will find it soon. And as I said, open educational resources are just one single part of the big picture of open education. Please always keep in mind, open education is much more and is also dealing with strategies and visions for our future innovations in education. We have also to highlight, even though that open education is such a promising concept, what's about measurability? And we have the meta-analysis by Hetty and others, and he could reveal that most evidence-based studies are not formulated very well, not scientifically, or just doing a wrong calculation and analysis. And despite all critics on his meta-analysis, we have to confess that also all the critics are confirming that we have really problems with evidence-based studies until now. And one of the main reasons is the lack of data collections. We are lacking the longitudinal studies, as already mentioned before. That's why we tried to do our own research during the COVID-19 pandemic and lockdown, just to give a first insight about the use as well as the potential benefits of open education. And we carried out our research in 13 countries, and we that are 40 researchers from all five continents here, and they are already published here in these two peer-reviewed journal articles. Here you can see the core team of our research and the countries that we have analyzed here, the key aspects that we could identify for the three education levels, the macro level, the meso level, and the micro level. And you are highly invited to read more about it in the two papers. The one is focusing on school and higher education as the specific educational sectors, and the other one is focusing on open education and its benefits. And finally, we were very pleased that the one article was highlighted as a global top COVID-19 article among the 10 leading in 2022. Well, my fourth key message is then that we have to reflect much more in education, but also in research, democracy, human rights, and equity. Because this is the basis of our society. And that's why we have also to reflect and to address the social changes that are currently taking place, as well as our movements and our situations in societies. Now, as I said, I'd like to have a specific focus on artificial intelligence, because this is now coming on top of the educational agenda. Actually, artificial intelligence is an old concept, and there is research for more than 50 years now, even longer, on artificial intelligence, but it became popular only, I would say, this year through the publication of ChatGPT. And we have to, first of all, ask ourselves, who is controlling artificial intelligence? Who is behind ChatGPT, DALL-E, Galactica, and so on? And all these artificial intelligence tools are not providing education innovations, but they are just tools, just services that we can use. Of course, we can also benefit from them. They can support our education, but they are still tools and nothing more. And most important, and that is something that we are currently underlining, in particular at the Council of Europe, it is always a relationship between human and human. It is not human beings in relation with an AI service, with an artificial intelligence. The artificial intelligence and the AI tools are always developed and introduced, implemented and published by humans. That means humans are responsible for any AI service, any AI tool. And for that reason, it's always to keep in mind, we are not dealing with so-called intelligence, and also this label is misleading, but this would be another keynote topic for 1 hour. But we have always to reflect, it is human-to-human relationship. Basics, I think most of you have already started to experience and to explore AI tools. That's why I'd like to be very brief here. Of course, I have to tell you in the beginning, we cannot stop it. We should not permit it, because there are also a lot of opportunities. It is difficult to recognize what is happening in AIs because of the random principles, the secret algorithms, and the black boxes within the AI tools, and that are normally not published and covered by the commercial providers. We have huge and many biases through inaccurate data foundations, related gender, related colors, related social and economic background, and so on. We have to be very, very careful here if we look into any result given by an AI tool. And we have also distinguished between data-driven and knowledge-based AI. Knowledge-based AI that is already existing for many, many decades. But at the moment, the future will be hybrid AI combining both pathways also for decision making. And that is causing a lot of impacts. And just to show you the first ones that you can directly find in ChatGPT, but also in DALL-E, if you look at the pictures of the Pope, hallucinations, fake news, propaganda. We have a lot of naive trust into the AI results or a loss of confidence because nobody is believing anymore in any text at all or any video or any picture. We have a lot of decision errors and discriminations of single groups. Even medical false diagnosis were in the beginning. If you try to ask ChatGPT now for medical diagnosis, that is already stopped and you will not be able to get any medical diagnosis anymore, most likely due to the fear that there could be responsibility in front of the court. That is all leading to our dependence on technology. AI will always take much more responsibility and much more time here. AI in education, well, exams and assessments will be first of all affected, of course. Plagiarism software is not a solution because there are so many false detections, but also non-detections, and software is becoming better and better. Watermarks are not verifiable. Even the own service by OpenAI was withdrawn by OI. They thought that this would be a perfect second business and commercial product, but they have even seen that they could not fulfill their own objectives. And that's why we need creativity, not only at the prompt, but in the usage of AI tools in general. We need to modify and to compare requests, and we have to use AI tools for critical discussions. Our futures in AI, well, we did a first study on the speculative AI futures by an international research team this year. And we have focused, and that was most important for us, not only on negative AI scenarios, but also on positive scenarios. And we were very surprised. Afterwards, everybody from the research team has contributed one positive and one negative AI scenario. And afterwards, we have analyzed and compared them, and we were very surprised how similar they were. Even that we are coming from all over the world, from all 5 continents, from different educational and historical backgrounds, but the AI scenarios were very similar, and yeah, you can read more about that here in this peer-reviewed journal article. That's why my 5th key message, artificial intelligence is changing a lot, and much more than COVID-19 and lockdown have done and achieved, because now in our days, the e-learning and online education that was introduced immediately during the COVID-19 lockdowns, that is now withdrawn, and we are going back to presence education on premise, physically in lecture halls and so on. And that is achievable. But you cannot turn off artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is now here and it stays. You cannot turn it off in the World Wide Web. And that means it has a lot of impact for us, and even more impact than digital education. AI regulations, just a very brief one. We have the European Commission that is currently discussing the AI Act. We have also the ethical guidelines from the Commission. The European Parliament did a hearing of the Committee for Education last year, and I was very pleased to be invited and also give some recommendations here. And finally, and this is most important to us, noted Michael, that the Council of Europe is now also playing an active role. And I don't know how much you are aware of the European organizations. The Council of Europe is the one that is focusing the three main pillars of the European philosophy and tradition, that are human rights, democracy, and rules of law. And they have organized a conference in last year where we met together with 50 other colleagues and experts discussing the need for an AI regulations. And this year, the Council of Europe has established an AI and ed expert group, and I'm very pleased to be appointed as a German member for the AI ed expert group. And we are now developing in parallel, not in competition, but in parallel to the AI Act, another AI regulation that is mainly focusing AI in education based on the three main pillars that are human rights, democracy, and rules of law. And we have already organized a conference workshop on that. I will have another one in 2 weeks. And yeah, I hope that we can share first results later this year. And finally, on artificial intelligence, to end up with that, we have also seen very interesting requests by AI providers and experts themselves, asking for a pause for 6 months and also reminding us on the risk of AI. But even so that these organizations are non-profit organizations, they are financed by the commercial providers. And we have to be very careful here, because the AI developers and the CEOs of these commercial providers try to hide their own interests and opinions behind the non-for-profit institutions. Having said that, I strongly believe artificial intelligence has to be regulated internationally, not only to regulate the options for implementation, but also to strengthen the benefits of artificial intelligence. And for the future, what can we say about our future? Well, we have the current challenges, as already said before. Climate change, poverty, and hunger will stay. AI will change everything now, and we have also social frictions that we have to address. We have our networks on virtual learning environments and our European network. How can you participate? Please publish and share your content, reuse existing content, and connect to colleagues. And my key messages, and that is the last slide here that I'd like to summarize. Digitalization in education and society requires strategies, and education, open education can play a very beneficial role here. And artificial intelligence changes everything, much more than e-learning and COVID-19 lockdowns have done before. And finally, education and AI need to focus more democracy, human rights, and equity, also for social societies and their ethics. And open education can play a big role here. If you're interested in e-learning and artificial intelligence, please contact me. You can find here some references and more references and more references. And I will share all the slides with you, of course. And I like to end up here with my contact data and with a warm thank you so much for your kind intention. I'm looking forward to your questions, and I'm very sorry that I cannot personally be with you. I hope the next time. Thank you so much.
Wow. Christian, everyone here with me clapping quite hard. They really enjoy your presentation. I'm sure people on Zoom also really enjoy your presentation. This time you nailed it. Everything is so insightful and very impactful. Let me ask any questions from the audiences, please. Okay, from Professor Willard, one moment, please.
Actually, it's not a question, it's just a piece of information. Professor, thank you. I agree with all what you have said in your presentation. There is just a piece of information from OpenAI, just released yesterday. It's a guideline for teaching with AI. And OpenAI said that we are releasing a guide for teachers using ChatGPT in their classroom, including suggested prompts and explanation of how ChatGPT works and its limitations, the efficacy of AI detector and bias. I think this would be very useful, and I hope that all of us in this room will come into this website and get the information. Thank you.
Okay, and thank you so much, Professor Willard and Professor Cherry, please. Thank you.
Okay, hello from Bangkok. Yes, Christians, I'm really impressed with what you have. Yes, with what you have delivered. Yes, we learned a lot how important of the AI. Just one thing that as I can call you as the expert of the artificial intelligence, especially for education. So how can education balance the improve and the high technologies of the artificial intelligence, which is now, we can see that it's going to be endless and growing dramatically, yes, with the cognitive, load of the students. How can we make sure that our students will learn and also be creative, not rely on the artificial intelligence only? Yes, so what is your suggestions?
Thank you so much for this great question. That is fantastic. Indeed, yes, you are touching a very important issue here. The cognitive load, we have to reflect that pupils and students are not only focusing on the opportunities, the potentials that AI is offering, but that they are using it in a frame that is also facilitating their own competence development, as already highlighted before. And teachers and educators are having a very important role, like it is also underlined in the publication from OpenAI, the guidelines how to use AI, but also in many other guidelines that are already existing next to this one from yesterday. Many teachers and educators have already explored it. And there is one key result that I'd like to summarize from all the experiences. That is, you need to carefully and critically reflect AI use. That means it's not important what in the end will come out of ChatGPT or DALL-E or whatever AI tool you are using. It is more important what you bring in at the prompt or how you use it. And that is what teachers can and should address here. And in that way, they can also go step by step and try to avoid not to ask for high cognitive load of the students and the pupils, but going step by step up the ladder in the complexity and in the difficulties. Is that answering your question?
Okay, Christian, this time you really touch all the participants here. I think they're all checking out your links. So many links that we need to open from now on based on your presentation. So on behalf of Thailand Cyber University, I would like to express our sincere gratitude for you. And hopefully next year, you're going to be here in person. So stay safe until then. Once again, everybody, give him a big applause. Thank you very much. Thank you. See you next year, Christian. Thank you, sir.
Thank you
Bye-bye.
so much for the kind invitation and the kind opportunity to speak to you today, and looking forward to next year's conference.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank